Hey guys, welcome back to Ashley's Homestead Adventures. We're back in the kitchen again this morning. We still have some things that we need to deal with in the kitchen. I have, today is salsa, and I have a whole bunch of tomatoes that need to be dealt with. There's some there's some already in the sink, and then I have an entire window seal, as well as a handful of serrano peppers in here. So I am just going to get these all cored, scored, and cut and ready for roasting in the oven. I roast my salsa in the oven, and for whatever reason my recipe that I brought with me from Oregon said 350 degrees, and I have actually found this summer through trial and error that I like 450 degrees for 30 minutes. And I roast my tomatoes. When Mr. Wonderful's here, he actually does the peppers on the grill, but I have found that when he's not here, I can just roast them alongside the tomatoes and it's fine. They still taste really good. So the tomatoes, the peppers, whatever I'm using from my garden. Today it's serranos. It's not always that. Sometimes it's jalapenos, sometimes it's poblanos and Anaheims, and you just don't ever know. But right now, today, it's serranos. The garlic and the onion will all get roasted off in the oven. So I'm gonna get all that started, and we'll get these things roasty toasty before we make salsa. Tomatoes are not perfect. These tomatoes are out of my garden, and they are the tomatoes that A, have either been sitting at the farm stand for a while, and I just swapped them out with new tomatoes, or B, they didn't make the farm stand cut, so they weren't pretty enough, they had cracks, they had bruises, you know, whatever the case. So I'm aware that these tomatoes are not perfect, and I'm also aware that to some of you I might be cutting off more than maybe you would, but I tend to err on the side of caution, especially when I'm canning for long term, and especially with tomatoes, because tomatoes, tomatoes like to go bad in the jar. Like, if there's anything in your pantry that's going to go bad in a jar that you've canned, it's probably the tomatoes, in my experience. So I tend to be a little bit err on the side of caution. I cut a little bit more off, and this stuff is not going to go to waste. As always, it goes to the chickens. So don't worry about that. And also, these are all heirloom varieties, so you're seeing a variety of tomatoes. And that is because I grew 40 different varieties of tomatoes this year. So I have a variety coming out of my garden, and I don't mind a colorful salsa. So garlic cloves. Because for me, this is a double batch. I usually do 3.5 pounds of tomatoes. And this was 5.5 pounds. 2 onions. I did not grow these. I grew the garlic, but I did not grow these onions. My recipe calls for red. I prefer red onions, but I don't have red onions. I just have white. So do what you can with what you got. Cutesy. Oops. Got a little aggressive with that one. Just need a little square of foil. And just wrap them up. Doesn't have to be pretty. Just wrap them up and throw them on there. Okay, 450 degrees for 30 minutes. Alright, I've got all my jars into my digital canner here. We are going to water bath can for 20 minutes. It's 15 minutes, but because of my elevation, I add 5 minutes to all water bath canning. I have inserted my jars. Now I can go out and get some chores done while the rest of the job is roasting in the oven. Ooh, they look good. Okay, now while we wait, for those to cool off, I'm going to get my Cuisinart out, and then we'll take the skins off and pop everything into the Cuisinart, pulse it until it's to the desired consistency that I want, and then it'll go in the pot with vinegar. 3 tablespoons per 3.5 pounds of tomatoes, so I'll do 5 or 6 tablespoons of vinegar, and a teaspoon of salt per 3.5 pounds, so I'll do probably 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I find it's better to do the peppers and onions and garlic first to get them to the consistency that you want, because the tomatoes are just going to turn to liquid very quickly. I use a slotted spoon to try and not pick up all of that juice. That's the point of roasting them, is to get the juice out of them. Look at all that juice left behind. That'll be it. And vinegar. While I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna go ahead and get my jars out because they're ready. Let's get this in the jars. I have tasted it for salt and it's perfect, and I didn't add any more. And I also tasted it to see what the heat is, and this is about a medium, I would say, salsa. It's delicious. Fill our jars to 1/2 inch headspace. Yep. Clean our rims. Place our lids. Finger tight. Into the canner they go. Cover the jars with 1 inch of water. Press play. Now that's exciting. I'll be having that for lunch this afternoon when I get home from work. Doesn't that look delicious? So this one will go in the fridge and wait for me. So the cool thing about a digital canner is that I now can leave it. And I can always, you know, so much of the time we go, oh, we don't have time to start a batch, you know, to can a batch before work. And now I do. So that's good. It'll do its thing. It'll water bath can them. It'll cool them down, and they'll be ready to pull out as soon as I get home from work. So I'm gonna go out and do a few more barn chores while I have time, and then I gotta go to work, and we'll pull those out when I get home from work. Side note, you guys, look at the horses' carrot bed that I planted behind the barn. Look at how big they're getting. Isn't that exciting? Mr. Chance is enjoying some time outside. And Billie Jean thinks she wants to play. Miss Velvet's on the other side. That's my horse cow. I know you guys have heard of cow horses, but have you ever heard of a horse cow? She's like, let me at him, Mom. I'll get him. She's one horsey cow. Okay, you guys, I just got home from work and our canner is done. So let's unlock it and see what she looks like. Clean water, I like that. Yum. They look delicious. There you have it, you guys. That's exciting. They're still really hot. So thank you for coming along with me again today on another kitchen task. And this is the way that it is on a homestead or a small farm or even just a small gardener. You know, gardener's kitchen. We have these batches of food that come in, and it might not be 100 pounds, but it's enough to can some salsa. And you know, for us, freezer space is a big deal because we have a lot of meat stored in our freezers, so we can't just like make picante sauce and store it in the freezer. We need that room for our beef, but you know, we can these small batches of things. You just got to wrap your mind around not doing it in bulk. And like we used to when we used to buy it, we used to buy 150 pounds of tomatoes, 250 pounds of tomatoes at a time, and we would can our whole year's worth of salsa. Where now I have my own garden and I'm bringing in the tomatoes as they come in. And so I've wrapped my brain around doing small batches, and I'm really thankful. This summer, that was my goal, was to not look at food and be like, oh, I'll wait until I have enough for a big batch. My goal was to just process things as they came in. So that's exciting. 2 more jars of salsa. These ones are medium. The last ones that I did were mild. So this will make Mr. Wonderful very happy. They're more spicy, and the more spicy, the better. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for coming along with me on mine. I'll catch you on the next one. Yours truly.